The backlash from the holiday blizzard. New Jersey Governor Christie is defending his administration's handling of the storm and the fact that both he and his lieutenant governor were out of the state when it hit. The Republican faced reporters today after returning from a family vacation at Disney World, and he said the trip was part of his most important job as a father. And he accused his political opponents and the media of stirring up needless controversy.
This is not like in the 1800s when, no one would be able to get me. Believe me, my cell phone was ringing where I was much more than I would have preferred it to under normal circumstances when I'm away on a family vacation. But, I was not going to look at my children and say, no, we're not going. We had a plan in place, as you can see, standing behind me and in the back of the room. We have able leadership in the executive branch of this government to be able to deal with this problem, and they dealt with it. I was, as I said earlier, talking to them on a regular basis to be able to know what was going on and to provide whatever input and recommendations that I needed to make. Lastly, I had complete faith and confidence in Senator Sweeney. We talked about this when I told him this is what the situation was. I explained to him why both of us were going to be out of the state at the same time. It was not something, candidly, that the lieutenant governor really wanted to talk about publicly. It's an intensely personal thing to have a parent that ill and to have this type of trip. And so we didn't talk about this initially because we didn't think it was really anybody's business other than the people at the senior levels of government who needed to know, and Kim and her family. But as the partisanship rose, as the fact that it's like kind of a slow news week and everybody loves to report on the weather, rose, and you need something to talk about, and I get that, I understand it. We ultimately made the decision to give a fuller explanation for why. But the idea that, all this carping and craziness about how could I leave the state stranded? I mean, I was on the phone not only, with my staff, but with members of the press, who had questions to let them know about what was going on. So this is just partisanship and kind of the nature of the time of the year.
Christie also explained that his lieutenant governor had made plans months before to take her severely ill father on a cruise. The president of the state Senate, a Democrat, stepped in as acting governor on Sunday to declare a snow emergency. Well, let's talk about the political backlash from the blizzard with two of our political contributors, Democratic strategist Hillary Rosen and Republican strategist Ed Rollins. I want to start off with both of you here. I mean, Ed, do you buy the governor's explanation? Do you think it's a good one?
No, I don't. And I'm not obviously, I'm a big Christie fan. He's a role model for a lot of Republican governors who are coming in time of crisis, and this snowstorm has been a crisis, whether it's New York City or in New Jersey. You've got to be at the helm, and I've seen many governors and mayors in the past destroy their careers by not being there. This affected everybody in the state, and I'm sorry for his family, but that's the life of a governor. He should have been on an airplane. He should have been back here, and to come back and be whiny about it or to dismiss it is not very important. It isn't partisanship. It's executive leadership.
Hillary, what do you think of the explanation? As a parent, he says he didn't want to look his kids in the eye and face the disappointment to the promise that he made about the trip to Disney World and all that stuff. I mean,
as a parent, I actually know that Disney World is open 365 days a year, so, you could actually delay it a few days. But this is my problem with what Governor Christie did today. He didn't just come back and lash out at his critics. He also came back and announced that he was going to apply to the federal government for a grant to help him clean up the snow in New Jersey. So at the same time this governor is making his political career based on spending cuts and yelling about Democrats spending too much in Washington, all of a sudden he wants a bunch of the money. I find that outrageous. Well, he's such a hypocrite.
The governor said that he was very busy during his trip. He was on the phone. I mean, did that convince either one of you that he at least was engaged in some way?
Until you're out there in the streets, just as Mayor Bloomberg, who for 4 days up here sort of ducked and dodged it and thought everything was going great, until you get in the streets and see what ordinary citizens are going through, you don't know what the crisis. I agree with Hillary totally on the fact that if you're going to basically need help to clean up snow, you shouldn't be a Northeast governor or a Midwest governor. That has to be part of the planning process. You have to have resources funded for that. You can't be going to the federal government and asking for, and particularly this governor, who we think is, as I said, could be a role model for future governors. You got to take care of your own mess.
Is this fatal damage? Is this fatal damage to him? He's clearly one of the favorites in the Republican Party.
Well, that was the point I was just going to raise, which is, you know, part of his fame and popularity in the Republican Party is his supposed candor and willingness to speak his mind. And I think what we saw today was a little bit of thin skin around his own feelings. And we'll see whether that keeps coming out over the next
We're going to get back to